hands, and we're seeing that particularly in the northern part of the state. So far, there have been 262,000 accounts that had lost power have been restored, and there are more than 250,000 accounts that are currently out of power and in need of restoration. As you'd imagine, the counties that have the highest percentage of power outages are the counties that were in the main pathway of the storm, counties like Dixie, Levy, Taylor, Suwannee, Madison, Jefferson, and Columbia. Utility workers are actively working to restore power in all affected areas, and they have started doing that as soon as it was safe to do so. So those restoration efforts are ongoing. We do anticipate you could have that these power outage numbers could go higher, but the restoration numbers are going to go higher as well. All 8 urban search and rescue teams are deployed. Our National Guard has folks in places like Taylor County. They're getting on scene there to do things like clear major pieces of the roads and get debris that has been knocked around. So there's a lot of moving parts there, kind of at ground zero. So we've got a National Guard unit there. General Haas going to talk more about that. Coast Guard is active, including with rotary wing assets. Florida Fish and Wildlife has both boats and vehicles en route to the affected areas. And Florida Department of Transportation has been conducting cut and toss operations, starting at the southern part of the state as the storm moved through southwest Florida, clearing those roads and then moving all the way up north. And so they are en route to clear all the way up to Taylor County. Right now, Tampa Airport is going to reopen for incoming flights at 4 p.m. By 3 a.m. tomorrow, it will be fully reopened. Gainesville Airport will reopen tonight, and Tallahassee Airport will reopen first thing in the morning. The ports in Tampa and Manatee are currently undergoing assessments, and when those assessments are concluded, they will be able to resume operations, assuming all is well, which we anticipate it will be. There are, as of now, no confirmed fatalities, and those fatalities are things that get confirmed by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement through medical examiners. We do not have any confirmed fatalities yet. If you have any questions about how things are unfolding in your area, you can go to floridadisaster.org for updates. The Florida Division of Emergency Management will continue to update that website with all the latest information. We have really good retail in terms of all the counties, I think, other than the Big Bend proper, the Tampa Bay area. Things are good. Leon County is doing well. We're still assessing what is all going on the ground in the places that had the initial impact. And so we're probably going to be, I'm probably going to try to get down to some of those counties today. But we got a lot of people that are going in, offering assistance from the state perspective, helping these counties be able to stabilize the situation. So for more updates on this, I'm going to bring up Kevin Guthrie from the Florida Division of Emergency Management.
All right. Thank you, Governor. So far right now, the biggest impacted area that we have, following up on what the governor said, is seems to be in Perry. Right now, we know we have a couple of businesses that have caught on fire, a few that have roofs knocked off of them, maybe potentially one collapse. We're getting some conflicting information on that. But we do have crews that are there working hand in hand with Taylor County Sheriff's Office and Taylor County Fire Rescue. So that's going on. Madison County is another county that has been impacted. They have a lot of debris on the ground. They have about 99% power outages in that particular county. So, again, we do have resources heading in that direction. Again, I'll let General Haas talk about that. He's got one of his task forces heading in that direction as well. So, other than that very specific detail, we continue to search, secure, and stabilize areas that we can do that in. Most of what we're doing here in the Big Bend area is initial search. I will say this, I know we don't have anybody from the CFO's office here, but in search and rescue in Fort Myers, we were able to clear a lot of houses very quickly because of the footprint of Fort Myers. Up here in the Big Bend, you may have 2 houses that are on a 5-mile road. So that is going to take a very long time to clear those. Now, we have more than enough assets, more than enough resources to get that done in a timely manner, but I just want to go ahead and set expectations. Some of this is going to take longer than what we experienced with initial search and rescue in Fort Myers, just again because of the landscape. We're going to have to do a lot of tree cutting and a lot of push emergency access to get into those areas to then do the securing and stabilizing, but we are working through all of that. We have maintained communications with all of our counties. We did have a couple of 911 centers that went down briefly for about 20-30 minutes, but again, all 911 calls have been answered. There are some minor backlogs in Taylor County and Madison County that, again, local officials are working through, and then we are supplementing those resources to help them get through those calls as quickly as possible. I will reiterate that even though we have 911 calls, there is no one in distress that has not been taken care of. The ones that were in distress, we got folks to immediately. We have a lot of people that have called 911 saying, I'm entrapped in my house, I'm okay, but I need help. So they are 100% okay. We're going to get to those folks just as fast as we can get our emergency access teams into them. The State Emergency Response Team will continue to work around the clock to meet the needs of all the survivors, support our first responders, and initiate an efficient recovery process to communities impacted by Hurricane Idalia. We are actively working with our law enforcement partners to continue to conduct search and stabilize, as I've already mentioned. We have a recovery team that's already in the EOC. We here at the Division of Emergency Management, we activate our recovery team the exact same time that we activate our response team. So our recovery team has already been working for several days getting ready for this. They are already conducting windshield assessments throughout the state of Florida. We will go into the next phase of this will be individual damage assessments, initial damage assessments, where those are done at the local county level in a little more detail to get numbers that will then roll up with us. We already have FEMA that is standing by ready to do what we call joint damage assessments. So they have teams here already ready to go for that. So you're going to see a very, very quick response on the recovery side of the house to do individual damage assessments and what's also referred to as public assistance damage assessments. That's where we check public infrastructure, city, county buildings, things of that nature. So again, all of that stuff will be unfolding most likely as soon as tomorrow so that we could get the recovery process jump-started here in the state of Florida. As always, we could not do that without the leadership of the governor and the objectives that he sets for us. So again, Governor, thank you so much.
Okay, General.
Good morning, and thank you, Governor, for your leadership and support of your Florida National Guard. Director Guthrie, thank you again for the great work your team is doing to protect Florida citizens. As we continue to assess the damage landfall caused across the state of Florida, our thoughts and prayers remain with the impacts of the storm on the folks. Florida National Guard is fully mobilized with approximately 5,500 soldiers and airmen supporting hurricane response efforts. Post-landfall, Guard elements have been providing support to our state and local partners with mission sets including reconnaissance, search and rescue, damage assessment, and route reconnaissance operations. Our 53rd Infantry Brigade Combat Team is heavily engaged in Florida's western coastal counties, primarily conducting ground search and rescue and route clearance operations. In fact, Florida Guardsmen are conducting high water vehicle rescues in Hernando and Taylor counties. Likewise, our 164th ADA Brigade is conducting similar missions throughout our central and northeast counties. We maintain additional immediate response forces available to rapidly reinforce our presence and capabilities in areas with greatest need, like Taylor County. We are embedded with each of our impacted county emergency operations centers and remain ready to provide support as requested. As briefed earlier, the Florida National Guard currently has 2,400 vehicles, including high water and high mobility vehicles, 14 rotary wing aircraft conducting planned urban search and rescue operations this afternoon, and 23 small watercraft on hand to support riverine operations as needed. Additionally, Florida is receiving assistance from other state National Guards. We are expecting 2 truck companies, one from South Carolina and the other from Tennessee. And we're also preparing to receive 3 UH-60 helicopters from Kentucky. At the same time, Maryland, Tennessee, and Colorado are standing by in case we need additional air assets. We remain grateful to our fellow Guard states for their assistance and support. Your Florida National Guard is prepared to accomplish any mission required by the Florida Department of Emergency Management, and we stand ready to support our state, fellow citizens, and our neighbors in need. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Governor DeSantis, for your continued leadership. Thank you, Director Guthrie, for your continued partnership as we respond to this event. Several days ago we began preparing. We've had our crews and equipment staged for the last 36 hours. Immediately after landfall and the storm passed through, we began pushing those crews into the impacted area. Over 700 crew members, which includes 100 bridge inspectors, 1,100 generators, and 250 pieces of heavy equipment. We've been moving these resources into the impacted area so that we can quickly address any needs, get the cut and toss operations taken care of, and support the life safety mission. In the main area of impact, we have nearly 1,000 bridges that have to be inspected, really focusing our efforts close to the coastline initially. We have several major roadways that go over the Steinhatchee River, the Swanee River, and others. Right now, State Road 24 going into Cedar Key is impassable because of high water. State Road 51 going into Steinhatchee is also impassable because of high water, but our bridge crews are inspecting most of the bridges as we speak, and we'll be finishing those operations within the next hour. We've made a lot of progress. We're going to continue to do so. We've moved the generators that are needed into the area. Most of the traffic signal assessments have been completed. We have about 50 locations left to complete, and we will be deploying generators for those traffic signals that need power. As we continue to respond to this storm, all 13 of our traffic management centers across the state will continue their 24/7 operations, inputting real-time traffic data into Florida 511. Again, that is the most accurate and timely information you can get for traffic at florida511.com. We have 185 road rangers that are continuing to patrol our interstate system and responding to motorists as needed. One thing to remember, there is still high water in a lot of areas of the state. If you see water overtopping a road, please do not drive through it. If you see water, please stop, turn around, go a different way. It can be really dangerous to drive through flooded roadways. Thank you again, Governor DeSantis, for your leadership and support as we respond to this event.
Okay, so we're going to have, all these assets are in motion. So you're going to see a lot of efforts at power restoration. You're going to see the roads cleared in the really significantly affected areas. That's going to just increasingly happen. And we're going to do whatever we need to do to help these local communities get back on their feet. Any questions?
What time did the I cross into Georgia?
That's a good question. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, I think it was probably within the hour, within the last 30, 40 minutes.
This morning, at what time did it become too dangerous for people in that Big Bend area to evacuate?
What would you say?
Probably the last evacuations probably happened somewhere between midnight and 2 a.m.
And do you have an idea of how many people might have stayed in the house? I know with Ian there was a form families filled out.
Yeah, so on this particular one, we did door-to-door because it was just a little bit different scenario with much less people. So Florida Highway Patrol and local sheriff's office agencies, again, down in Levy County, had about 100 people that stayed in homes. And then anecdotally, but up into Taylor County, it was more in the 50-ish range that was confirmed. But I'm sure other people did stay as well, but a little bit different way to do it.
Would you say that the Florida or Tallahassee has dodged a bullet with?
Well, I think if we were sitting here last night, we had a track that was bringing the I maybe into Leon County, and then they shifted that this morning. And so I would say Leon, this was from where we were when it was going there. This is the shift Leon wanted for sure. I mean, you go out there. I mean, I've been out. There's been rain and wind. There's some debris, but nothing I think like if that wall would have impacted Tallahassee, I think you would have seen significantly more damage. So that bend northeast really helped Tallahassee and Leon County.
Is there any kind of bridge damage like we saw during Ian, Sanibel Island, like we saw there?
So I'm going to let Jared come up. I don't think we've identified that. There are, of course, in the Tampa Bay area, some of those bridges were closed, some because of water, some because of wind. But structurally, I haven't got any reports that they're problematic. And then as you get in closer to kind of the ground zero, those bridges are not passable, but that's primarily because the water is overflowing. Is that accurate to say?
Yeah, that's accurate, Governor. I'd say we're still in the process of doing damage assessments. We haven't seen anything anywhere close to what we saw Pine Island, Sanibel Island. For the locations where there's still high water, we have to wait till the water recedes to really find out what's going on there. But we have not seen any major damage yet.
Are you seeing any significant river flooding inland, whether it be the Swanee or I guess it could even go over to St. John's if there's enough rain over there?
I'm sure we are.
Yeah, so short answer is we're starting to see some reaction. All of this rain is going to have to drain into those basins. So usually what happens in these incidents is we don't see the actual river action for 24, 48, sometimes as much as 72 hours after the fact. The St. Johns River is a very, very slow responding river. If you remember back during Hurricane Ian, that almost took 45 days to correct itself on that particular body of water. So again, it's going to take a little bit of time for them to completely react and then obviously go back down.
I will say, the one thing of this, the storm moved a little bit faster than some of the other ones have moved. Some of these things will just dump water and they go, so slow. This one moved a little bit faster, which is, at least when you're talking about the flooding, is a little bit better than when they're slow.
Is speed the reason that I'm sorry.
What does it look like for recovery for some of these counties that were hit, particularly hard, like Taylor and Sewanee? I know that, Calhoun County was still a mess 4 months, 5 months after Michael.
Well, we're in the process of doing those, of course, stabilize, rescue, recovery, whatever needs to be done right off the bat, power, save lives, all that. That's without saying. But then there will be damage assessments to see what all we're looking at in terms of damages in each of these counties. There is going to be debris, of course. That's going to be something that's going to need to be done. These counties are not going to be able to afford that on their own, of course, even with a 75% cost share with the federal government. And so I would imagine that the state would want to help these fiscally constrained counties. The legislature has typically wanted to do that. We may be seeking better cost share as well. But yeah, there's going to be things that are going to need to be taken care of. And these are the counties along that Big Bend. They just have very small budgets, and expenses like this are not things that they could absorb the way some of our wealthier counties could.
I just saw actually that there was an oak tree that fell on the governor's mansion here in Tallahassee. And is your wife and kids okay?
We're fine. In fact, she called me probably about 45 minutes ago and told me this is a really, ancient oak tree split in half, and part of it fell. I don't know that it fell on like the residence per se. I think it was a little bit off to the side. So that's going to be cleared. I don't know if they're going to have to cut down the whole tree. If they do cut down the whole tree, that's just going to be more room for my kids to hit baseballs in. And so in some respects for us, even though the tree was nice, we'll probably make do and just be quite all right.
Can you comment on some of the healthcare facilities in these smaller counties? Did any of them have to close for?
So I'll let Kevin do. I've spoken with a number of the main chains who had closed hospitals in the Tampa Bay area. They're all doing very, very well. Most of them are, going to be reopening today if they haven't already done that. And of course, they have a footprint further up into the Nature Coast. Do you want to talk about the others?
Yeah. So we did have a couple of assisted living facilities and nursing homes that did have to do some evacuations, but they did that as a part of the evacuations that we called for 2 days ago. To date, as of this minute, there have been no reports of any issues inside the health and medical industry, whether that's assisted living facilities, skilled nursing facilities, nursing homes, or hospitals. So everybody is reporting what we would call green, and they're good to go, and everything's all right.
And just as a follow-up, do you know, give or take, how many patients would have had, residents would have had to be transferred?
Yeah, I don't have those numbers right here. We could get with the Agency for Healthcare Administration, Secretary Weta, or even Secretary Latipo and figure out what those numbers actually were.
Can you kind of talk about the discrepancy between some numbers that are being reported on fatalities and citing FHP and you saying that there's no fatalities?
So there's a process for confirmed fatalities that just goes through law enforcement and medical examiners, and then they do that, and so that has not been done yet, where we've had a confirmation. Now, I know there's unconfirmed reports. Those may end up becoming confirmed, and then, of course, we deal with this in every storm. What is a fatality that is a direct result of the storm versus what would be something where, you know, you have a fatality that's unfortunate but may not necessarily have a causal factor with the storm. I mean, for example, in Fort Myers Beach, you know, people, there were fatalities because of that storm surge, no question. Well, if you're out the day after the storm and you're picking up debris from your yard and somebody has like a fatal heart episode, does that count as a storm-related death? So they always argue these things backwards and forwards. But when there are confirmed fatalities, those fatalities will be put out by the authorities. But there's just a process that goes through with that. Now, the unconfirmed, I think there have been unconfirmed reports of traffic fatalities. And that may be storm-related. It may be not. Obviously, it was happening within the time that the storm was either approaching or was on target in these various parts of the state of Florida. Okay, we'll have more updates as the day goes on. We probably will end up visiting some of these areas as soon as it's safe to do so, and we'll be assessing on the ground and mobilizing any additional resources as is necessary. Thanks.
Do you have another briefing tonight, sir?
Probably, yep.